Hi everyone. So in less than 4 years, we've created more than 50 PLG unicorns in Europe. I don't know if you know that. It is a pretty significant number. I am very positive we will get to 100 very soon as the number of PLG SaaS unicorns it's really growing. My name is Itxaso. Thank you for the pronunciation back there. It's Itxaso. In fact, it's a little bit difficult one. I am a partner at Notion Capital based in London. We are a B2B SaaS investor, investing mainly in Series A businesses across Europe. We've been investing in SaaS since 2009, so we've been pioneering a little bit the SaaS space here in Europe. Personally, I joined them 3.5 years ago, and within the team, I'm probably the one more product-led. I really get very excited when I'm talking about product roadmaps and the vision of the founders to build the products that their users and the customers really want. So I joined them pretty much to lead many of those investments. And we are investors in companies that probably you know, like GoCarless, Currency Cloud, Tradeshift, Paddle, who is, in fact, you've seen around here, and I think Cledara is also in our portfolio, and it's also around here. So all of those companies, SaaS companies, are in our portfolio, and you can check some of them out downstairs. But we are. I'm very, very excited about product-led companies because I do know that to be successful, you don't only need a good product. So with a good product, probably you might still need something else to get to your customers. But I do believe that without an amazing product, you are probably not going to be able to be successful. So today, I think employees expect consumer like experiences in their workplace, and so we really need to pay attention to what are the products that we are providing to them, right? And so related to all of that, obviously the natural transition and the go-to-market strategy is product-led growth, and that is what I'm going to be talking about today. I've been doing a lot of work around this space, and in fact there are a couple of research pieces coming out on specifically European unicorns in PLG, because I think a lot has been said about the US producing PLG SaaS unicorns and companies going public, which is absolutely great. But I think Europe has an amazing opportunity right now because even though it is a very fragmented market, now you can start a company from anywhere you are and target huge markets and ecosystems from Estonia, from Barcelona, from Switzerland, wherever you are, and I think that is very, very unique and important, right? So one of the research, just I will start, if this moves, it's not moving. Can we move the slide to the next one? Oops. Yes. So here are a little bit, a couple of just an introduction to the research we've been doing on PLG. And if you see this, you can see those are the number of unicorns, PLG unicorns that have been created in the last couple of years. As you see, there are over 50 of them. This is only European unicorns, and this includes not only companies that started as PLG, basically their main go-to-market strategy was PLG when they started, but also companies that are bottom-up, going through developers, and basically they grow on a bottom-up approach, which are also included here, as well as some companies that started product-led, and then eventually included or integrated PLG strategies as an additional go-to-market strategy for their companies. And I think it's pretty impressive to see the number of those companies growing. And we don't have 2022, but otherwise we will have Paddle too, which is in our portfolio. And as you know, it is a PLG business. and growing very rapidly, right? So I think this, for everyone around in this room who is building a PLG business in Europe, is basically where I would like to see many of your logos in a couple of years for sure. But what I'm going to be talking about today is around the 5-6 main best practices and tips that we collected from the experts and the founders in the industry. So I ran a survey a couple of weeks ago, and I've seen some people in the audience, in fact, who contributed to that survey. I posted through my LinkedIn profile. We have a Slack group for PLG experts and businesses across Europe that if you want to join, you just message me and I would send you the link to join. But basically, we posted a survey there and asked the founders and the experts to contribute with tips and best practices on PLG businesses. We basically aggregated all of those, and I'm presenting here the 6 that were either more relevant or they were mentioned more times, because some of them were really mentioned many times, and I really wanted to curate those in here. So let's go for the first one. Here there are some examples of some of those companies. The first one is in fact here, the last one on the table, and there is not a particular order, and that's why I'm going to be jumping around on the table. It's not the most important one or the least important one. But the last one is born, not made. And this is a very interesting one because right now we are investors in over 100 companies in SaaS. And many businesses come to us these days who are doing sales-led go-to-market strategies, and they come to us and say, hey, we want to implement PLG as a go-to-market strategy. How many of you have tried to do that? So are doing sales-led, some of you, right? And so many of you, in fact, are in this talk because you are interested in hearing a little bit more how to do that. The reality is that we try to help many of those companies, and many of them struggle because of different reasons. So there are many reasons for that. One, it might be the onboarding process might not be seamless enough or intuitive enough that customers can self-serve. Or it might be that the time to value is in fact a little bit longer than what people were expecting, right? Because we are very impatient too, and we want to see what is going on with the product very quickly, right? Or in some cases it has happened too that teams are not structured in a way that they have a PLG-like mentality. Think of a product team which doesn't take as a responsibility the revenue generation, right? In a PLG business, product people are thinking, okay, those are my revenue targets, and those are product people. Maybe in a sales-led organization, that is not exactly the case. And so when you go to them and you are asking them to generate certain revenue through the product, maybe that might not be what they were expecting from you as a CEO or as a manager, right? So all these sort of things create difficulties for companies to go from sales-led to product-led, basically. And I use here an example, Paddle, and I'm sure we have some of the people from Paddle in the audience, and this is one of our portfolio companies. We invested many years ago, 5-6 years ago in the company, and Paddle was a sales-led organization when they started. As you know, for those who don't know it, Paddle does the subscription and payment transaction for SaaS businesses. So many of you might be also customers of Paddle, right? When Paddle started, the market was not educated enough. They weren't operating in what is called a red ocean, where customers knew what Paddle was for. And they had to do a big sales motion to be ordered to gain that traction and to educate the market. And so it is only now a year and a half ago, when they have started to implement that product-led growth strategies. In fact, if you look, Andrew Davis, who was the CEO of one other portfolio company at Notion. We moved him to Paddle now once the company is acquired, and he is leading all the go-to-market on the CMO role, and basically taking over, also working with the product team on that. And I think it's one of the companies, so it's not impossible to build a PLG motion from sales-led, but it has challenges. So this is a good example. If you see people from the company, just reach out to them, because I do believe they might have some insights from you, for you on how to do it. The second insight contributed by the experts and the founders was around pricing. How many of you are thinking, what is the best pricing for my company? Am I capturing the right value from my customers, right? And most of the times, the pricing that was mentioned is the value-based pricing. And many people talk about this, but it is a reality that we see many more companies that are trying to go to market with a pricing model that is not the right one for them. They are not capturing the value they are bringing to their customers. And I wanted to use the example of Test Gorilla, which is in fact a company that has a big team based in Barcelona. It's also a company in our portfolio. And what they do is they provide tests for enterprises for the recruitment process. So you put a job opportunity, and so candidates need to go through several tests before they get to an interview, let's put it this way. And so if they will be charging their customers through seats or people using the product, it will be 2 to 5, maybe 10 people within an organization in the HR team who are basically responsible for recruiting within the company. In this case, what they do is they charge per test, which means that a company goes in, they have 2 people using it, but if they have hundreds of employees applying for the job, then they are charging for hundreds of those potential candidates going through the test. And this is very, very important, because in fact, customers realize they are paying for what they get, right? And I think it is very, very important for them to get that pricing right. So I think this is one very, very important point also that the experts mentioned. Let's go to the third one. It is around growth and net retention rate. And this one was contributed by several people. And I used here an example. It was, in fact, I see Vincent here on the front, who was one of the people who contributed with this idea, because I reached out to people after they contributed to the survey just to talk about some of the points and the survey and elaborate a little bit more. And I wanted to use the example of YouLive. So when we think of PLG, everybody knows that PLG is a way to acquire customers, to engage with them, and to build that loyalty through the product. But the reality is that many companies are doing very well the expansion through the products. So they have built product capabilities in which employees, users, are incentivized to involve other people, to collaborate with other people, to buy additional modules within those products. And it is not that you are selling all of those from day one, because people get bombarded with all of those within the products, but rather progressively, once they start getting familiar with the product, you start pushing in front of them different modules or ways to use the product, and building that net retention rate expansion through the product. I use here the example of YouLive, which is one of the investments I led 3 years ago. YouLive is life insurance for businesses. Basically, they provide a life insurance for companies so that their employees receive a benefit. And as you know, before, in fact, YouLive existed, probably we didn't know we had life insurance until we die, and then we don't know it anyway. So what they do is they give an app to the employees so that they can be healthier and more active. And so through that app, the employees can only not track what they do, but they can also onboard their family members on the life insurance provider, or they can buy additional insurance products like a dental insurance or PMI. And in that way, the company is able to expand, build a net retention rate through the product, through the employees, without having to go through a sales mode through the top of the organization, right? So that's a good example of that. Let's go for the fourth point mentioned by the experts and the founders, and this is around the stickiness. In the same way that product-led growth is easy to adopt, those products are easy to adopt, churn is also pretty high because you can also basically unsubscribe pretty easily, right? Unless you build a stickiness, I'm pretty sure that many of you are trying to figure out how to present to investors a pretty high churn within your numbers without making them think that in fact people don't like your product. So I think there are many companies that have done very, very well this stickiness building within the product. And that can be done with, for example, Airtable, with collaboration opportunities, as well as becoming a system of record. When you are a company like Airtable or Notion, the note-taking app, not the investor, they have taken our brand, but it's not the same thing. We are not related to each other. We were earlier, in fact. But Airtable or Notion, right? When you have a bunch of people who are sharing some information, it is much more difficult to get out of the product, because obviously those collaboration opportunities and the fact that you've become a system of record creates that stickiness to the product. And so thinking of those features that can make those products long-standing within the organizations is very, very, very important. And I think that's something that we need to take into consideration. One more here, which is around personalization, and I don't know if Marty, the founder of Gretel, is here, but personalization refers to the fact that we not only want to give very short and very quick value to our customers, but we also want to make them feel that this product is just for them. So when I log in a product, it's pre-populated with information that belongs to me. That is an incredible way to feel that that product is specifically made for organizations like me. The way that Gretel is doing it, Gretel is a company that is creating an information layer in such a way that everyone within the company can access information that other people have created, and therefore gives you the opportunity to be much more productive, much quicker in our small organizations, right? Like an information layer. So Gretel, the way they are doing is by scripting your website. In the moment you put your email address and the name of your company, they scribe your website and they pre-populate the product before the first screen of the product is launched, in such a way that you have already a logo, you have some names, you have some pricing, and that is a very, very interesting way to make people feel that in fact that product is going to serve their needs. Okay? And last but not least is around real PLG, and I always talk about this point with many of my founders, because I always tell them that eventually, if you want to build a PLG business, you gotta let it go. Basically, you need to let your users and customers use it by themselves. Don't be afraid, just let it go, let them use it. And the reality is that there are many things that pressure you. I mean, in many cases, we are investors too, which push you to onboard all these customers one by one, so you get that short-term revenue. In reality, that is the short-term revenue, and you are worried that churn will be there. And I put the example of Folk here. I don't know if anybody from Folk is in the audience, but basically they are building the next generation of a CRM. So today, many companies, we are using Slack and Notion and many other tools that are, or WhatsApp, that are not, in fact, included in a traditional Salesforce, for example, CRM. And we lose a lot of the communication that we have with our customers. So Folk allows you to gather that data too. And I'm super impressed with the team because they've been incredibly good at letting the customers, in fact, use the product, even though they are having certain churn at the very beginning, but they learn so much very quickly. And they haven't been able to get to where they are unless they have let it go a couple of months ago, or 6 or 8 months ago. And they are now letting everyone go through the onboarding process by themselves. So those are 6 of the points. I just want to conclude very, very quickly with 3 takeaways from this talk. The first one is basically that these are just 6 points that I wanted to mention that have been the most cited or contributed to this survey. I think we will continue to do many more, as I said. And related to the second point, there is a massive opportunity to build a PLG business in Europe. We will continue to contribute with research, with data around PLG unicorns in Europe. And we do have a community of PLG experts in Europe. So let us know, you can join, and let's stay, let's keep the discussion open, because I'm a true believer of building 100 PLG unicorns in Europe very, very soon. Thank you, that was it.